Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. Hopefully, you're having a great day. I'm having a great day. Things have been very busy for me. There's a lot going on in the company. We are revamping our college funding services. We're working on a nationwide marketing system. So there's just a whole lot going on. But I'm super excited because today I get to have on the show and welcome to the show one of my most beloved and favorite people in the world for our successful professional series. And let me explain to you guys what that is. Basically, what I do is I interview successful people in their field just to give kids an idea of what's out there and what they would have to do if they want to get into that profession. Because so many people out there, they don't know what they want to do with their lives. And as a matter of fact, the roughly 80% of the people who are employed right now kind of hate their jobs. And so we want the kids to get into careers that they love, where they can make an impact in society. And so with that, and no further ado, please welcome my friend, my brother from another mother, Mr. Larry Andres. Welcome, Brother Larry.
Well, thank you, Harold, for such a distinguished introduction. I'm very humbled this morning to be in your presence.
How you doing, man?
Of our audience. Doing good, doing good. As you can see, my backdrop today is the mountains. So I'm just going to say my attitude will get to that altitude on the top of the mountains. So I'm ready for our discussion today as we share with our parents.
Right, because attitude determines altitude, right?
Correct.
And I used to be an air traffic controller, and there's something called AOA, angle of attack, or the attitude of a plane. And when you have a positive attitude, that means the plane's nose is pointed up. And when you have a negative attitude, it means the plane's nose is pointed down. And so Larry's always a very positive guy. You don't drink coffee, right?
No, I'm natural.
Larry does not drink coffee, but he's always high. He's high on life. And so Larry, I just want to thank you for, oh man, I've known you for like some years now. And you know, Larry's kind of like my sounding board. He's my iron sharpens iron type of dude. Yes. And so Larry, man, welcome to the show. I want you to start off by telling people who you are and exactly what it is that you do right now.
Basically, just like compliments to Harold is that, first of all, I just want to say I was given this opportunity to work alongside an individual who loves to help people, and that's Harold Green. And he helped my family and I with my daughter and my son. Not to digress, but I'm a product of his services and the company. I'm Larry Andres. I hail from the beautiful Garden of Eden in the North Shore, and born and raised as a Wailuan, and then was able to go to school on the mainland for my graduate studies, and then eventually ended up working in first a church. And then I moved into the state for the next 34 years, working as a kindergarten teacher with Ilocano-speaking children who are Filipino children, to working at the high schools at McKinley and Waipahu High School, and then moving on to Leeward Community College for 22 years. And then my last 5-6 years here is at the University of Hawaii, West Oahu, in which I'm proudly wearing the shirt that bears the University of Hawaii, West Oahu. And in a nutshell, that's my academic career and background. And I'm just ready to share with you folks. And I know you got a lot of questions, and Harold and I are ready to rock and roll, Harold.
All right, man, you're ready to rock. So my favorite phrase is, you guys ready for this? 1, 2, 3, let's get it. Let's get it. One thing, Larry, about you that I did not know was that you were an elementary school teacher.
Yes, I did. So I covered the basis from kindergarten to university. So that's my my plethora of experiences, if I might say.
Yeah. So Larry, guys, Larry,
It was fun.
ladies and gentlemen, Larry has a very diverse background. So I met Larry some years ago at a college funding dinner workshop that I was putting on. And I got a funny story to tell you about the guy. When I was doing the presentation, I saw this guy out of the corner of my eye, and I don't even know if he was on the reservation. I think he came as a guest of one of the attendees. And so all throughout the event, I was like trying my best to give the presentation, but here's this guy over there. He's talking, he's making faces, and I wanted to go and say, like, dude, can you shut up or leave? and and in my mind, I was hoping, it's like, God, I hope he doesn't ask to schedule a meeting. I hope he doesn't ask to schedule a meeting. And then after the event, I went over and I met him and his wife and shook his hand and he sure enough he asked for an appointment. But you know what? I found him that day to be, one of the nicest, caring people that I've ever met. And so sometimes don't let first impressions fool you. So he made an appointment with him and his wife. They came in, they brought their kids in, and I just, I love him like my own brother, and I'm excited to have him on our team. And so I brought Larry on a while back as our college coach, academic coach, to help students figure out how to transition from high school into the next phase of their life, which is college. And so with that being said, Larry, tell me about your profession as I don't even know what your title is. Is it a coordinator, transfer coordinator?
They call us now success advisors.
Success advisors.
We used to be academic advisors. Now the word is success advisors. At the community college, we're counselors. So it's just helping people. That's my title.
So we're going to get into the 3 phases of your career. Number 1, talk to the families out there in regards to how you can become a success advisor, or what route of education did you need in order to become that. And then I want you to talk to everybody as to why you decided to go this route in the first place.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Harold. And Harold, I love him because he asks good questions. He kind of like, when he said he saw me in the corner of the eye, I was like, uh-oh, who's this guy going to tell us what? And later did I know that Harold has a wealth of knowledge. So how to be a success advisor, or in what people would say a regular counselor. So when I was with the DOE, the Department of Education, I was at McKinley High School first for about a year, and then 5 years at Waipahu High School. So the necessary credentials was basically a bachelor's degree, and the high schools required a master's in either education or a master's in counseling psychology. But I had a different master's degree, so I went to theological school, and I came out with a master's in theology, and actually was to start a clinical psych program, a PhD program, but personal things happened, so I dropped out. So
where'd you go to college for your
the bachelor's? My bachelor's degree, I went to the University of Hawaii, Manoa.
And then for your master's?
Theology. Yeah. So I lettered that to a bachelor's and master's, and then I didn't complete my doctorate. But to get into this field right now is predominantly in the elementary and the high school as a counselor, elementary counselor, school counselor, or a high school counselor is a master's degree in education or a counseling psychology. And I was fortunate to get into a related field that dealt with people. If you have a doctorate degree at the elementary or the high school, the pay scale is going to be the same, just to be straight with you. But the knowledge and wealth that you bring into the school is priming you for an administrator, because it gets you to a point where you can start talking policy and you can start implementing programs that would really be of service to the elementary school students, the high school students. And in my position, I was fortunate to get in, and I worked my ways up with this tenure process at the college. And it's just basically a process to be permanent. And I was given these titles called, I worked my way up to an associate professor at community college. And then when I switched over to the University of Hawaii, West Oahu, I did not have a PhD, so therefore I was more of a support staff as an advisor first, an academic advisor. Then everybody started changing their names. Like, remember the days when a person was a sales clerk and they became a sales associate technician, giving them
Yeah.
those fancy words, Harold? And
Yes,
so
I
I
remember
became
that.
now a success advisor. So we have a person who's a success advisor with a bachelor's degree, and we have, in my team, we have 6 advisors, and then we have 3 with their doctorates, or one is going for their doctorate, and 2 finished it, and then another one with a master's. So 3 doctorates, 2 masters, and 1 bachelor's degree. And you want to say, like, what's the highlight of being a success advisor? Harold mentioned he was a FFA controller, would guide the plane safely to land, or what runway they would have to take. I'm similar to that, but I'm more one-to-one, or if we have groups, meaning about 3 to 5 people, or sometimes 20. So we would guide them with information that would help them to go to their exact career or options in their careers. But as Harold and I worked together for many years, our motto was career plus major equals college. And
Exactly.
so that's a different mindset that the traditional counselors would go, oh, what college do you want to go to? So this is the major and this is your career. But Harold and I are specifically on the return of investment philosophy, that your time is to be well spent, and then the money is to be well spent and equals the return of investment or a positive outcome. So our jobs as success advisors is looking at the students' values, interests, personality, and skills, and what do they want to do in, like, the health field. If they don't want to become a doctor, then they can become a physician's assistant, or they can become even the ambulance driver or a technician. So everything contributes, big or small, to the health industry. Then eventually we can choose their college, whether it can be a community college or it can be a major university. And so we want to make sure that you families spend your money and your time money wisely, and your child or student spends their time very wise.
That's some very important stuff you're saying there. And I'm all about doing what you love and not what you hate. And Larry, I see that you love doing what you do. I mean, you don't just like do what you do. You do it with like an aggression, or like with a passion, with an emphasis. You don't just show up like with a sandwich for lunch. You bring like a 5-course meal. I mean, you
Thanks.
go all at it. I mean, this is how I know you. And so tell people why you love to do what you do.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Harold. And by the way, yeah, we still have to do a 5-course dinner. Okay, so with
Let's
that
do
in
lunch
mind,
first. Let's
yeah,
get through lunch first.
first things first. Why do I do what I do? Is because of my background. Growing up in a small country place called Waialua, where people would say right now, altogether you can say, where is that? Okay, so a small, tight-knit community allows people to connect with people. Everybody knows everybody's business in Waialua. Who's going to where, who's going to marry so-and-so, who divorced, who's buying what, where they're going to live. And I grew up with that very tight connection. So it helped me be tight with people. And then my mother allowed us to go to church. And church, in general, what I'll share is that church provided some really neat activities, internal and external. So as a young teenager, I got to, with a youth person and working with the YMCA, I got to shoot pool, play basketball, did all kinds of activities in the city, where they would take us in a van to go to a movie, go to like Pearl Ridge, and even go to eating places. Because Waialua did not have a McDonald's back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So that's how backwards we were.
You guys have one now, though.
Yeah, we have one now, but that came up in the 21st century, Harold.
Right.
So what happened is my people connection drives me. And I think there was some reverse psychology too, is that I did have some bad experiences with my high school counselor and college counselor, because I could have been a really good military person, because they told me what to do. They did not ask me what I thought, what I was dreaming about, what were my desires. what if questions. And so the why becomes me now as I connect with people is I let them share their dreams, their stories. And so in a nutshell, I have a collusion. I collide with them with their stories. I feel with them. I walk with them. And the Indian has something that says, walk in their moccasins. And so I've been trying to do that and trying to understand that. Not perfect, but it's a good goal to pursue, is to be with someone every day where they're coming from culturally, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, academically. And it's more of a holistic approach. And I believe I've been striving for that and I've accomplished parts of that. And I'm still a work in progress. But that's what drives me. And also a faith in God, because I like that aspect of how to treat people and how I've been treated. I've been treated unfairly, but I've learned to forgive, and that's a hard part. But you have to have an internal concept to express your external services as well as who you are as a person, because people can read you in advising. They can tell you if you're you're depressed, or if you're a grouchy kind of person, or if you're a live wire like me. Sometimes I have to tone it down because I might scare some people. Right, Harold?
Right. Yeah, so, sometimes you are a little bit over the top.
Yeah. So that's what drives me.
I think I remember when I first started, we started working together, and Larry would come in and meet with families in the next office over, and I would already be in a meeting, and he comes in at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. He's whistling and he's humming, and I'm like, bro, I have a meeting going on over here. You got to like tone that down. Yeah. But he is very lively, and so thank you, Larry.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for answering that. The next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the digits and the dollars, right? And so I don't want you to like tell people what you make exactly, but I want you to kind of answer for me, what is the income range of success advisors at the college level, starting from like, say, the beginning of your tenure, the beginning of your journey, towards the end. So give me a lower end and the top end, because although you love doing what you do, you won't do it for free, right?
Exactly. Living in Hawaii, I have to pay the bills. So a good starting range now for the CCs, they start at least like school teachers, like either 45 minimal, 50 to as much as six figures, 100,000.
Wow.
And some people, their range can be, they can work for up to, I've had some counselors at Leeward that worked for 40 years. And I know they were making six digits, but if you really take a look at it comparatively, meaning engineers, they can start off at 50, 60,000 and then work their way up to the six digits in no time. Right. And whereas in people in business and accounting, especially software engineers and that kind of fields, and nurses, both Harold and I know. So the range again is 45, 50 to about 100,000. I don't think more people make over 100,000. There's a few that are in that bracket, but it's a comfortable living in Hawaii, depending on your taste of the lifestyle, whether you like champagne or I like water, or in between, I get an occasional Gatorade or soda.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is starting out, you're at about 50,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then to get to 100,000, like how long would it take someone, say they're 25, they got their master's and then maybe they get their PhD. Will they start at like 45,000 with a PhD?
No, I think it might go slightly higher. Maybe, as you well know, the state condition is pretty bad right now. But if the state pre-COVID state workers starting off with PhDs, I would say a slightly higher range to negotiate because of your educational experience. And that on top of your degree at the college, the university especially, would definitely put you a little higher.
Okay.
Your question was, how long will it take for a 25-year-old? I can say that person will take about 25 years.
Wow. So this is not a job that you get into like to start making money like right out the gate, right?
No, The word is state. If you
State.
find private
Okay.
might be a little different, right,
Right.
Harold?
Yes. So
State.
you're in a state-ran system.
Yeah.
Basically, the
Uh,
state of Hawaii gives money, and they fund the
yeah.
colleges and universities. And so right now,
Yeah.
Hawaii's been hurting. They've been hurting for a while. But let's say you were at, say, Penn State or Ohio State or
Oh, yes.
a Yale or an
Yeah.
MIT. What would you suspect that those success, you know,
Oh,
coaches or counselors would make?
yeah. I'm reading an article, and full-blown professors at certain schools that you've mentioned, Penn State to the Ivy Leagues and to the Tier 1 schools,
Yes, tier ones.
start at 150,000 to 200,000.
150,000 to 200,000. And so, kids, if you're out there listening and you're looking at becoming a counselor or working as a professor, you got to shoot for the top in order to make the dollars, or else, it'll take you a while to build up momentum in your income, but you'd be doing what you love. And so sometimes doing what you love doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be making a ton of money. But if it works out for your family dynamic and say your spouse has a higher paying job, which will afford you that opportunity to do something hands-on with students and kids that you love, then, by all means, go for it. And so, Larry, I wanted to thank you for sharing that bit for me. And so now I'm kind of getting into the industry in itself of colleges and where things are going. Can you tell the listeners one of the biggest changes you've seen in college today post-COVID?
Post-COVID. Excellent question, Harold. Being a counselor, a success advisor for now, I'm going on my 34th year.
34 years.
34 years. I'm speaking from this level at the university level. Where are people going? And I'll just be very candid about this. I'm looking at college for not the sake of college. I'm looking at now college as a means to open the door for you, but where does that educational institution give you specific work skills?
Yes.
And the work skills, now there were talks about in this, I subscribe to this thing called Quora, and it was talking about, let's say, software engineers or anybody in the computer area where a student can just get a CC degree, an associate in science degree in information computer science, get a few certifications. Again, the highest one is this CISSP, if I'm wrong, but guaranteed, this guy from the Army told me that you get 100,000. So
Out
my
the door.
Yeah. And versus someone that will have a bachelor's that went to Stanford and majored in classical music. So Harold and I talk about this, about how your major actually with skills can actually take that attitude that gives you the altitude, because you have to look at the trends in the work industry. So in a nutshell, I would say now is look at the industry and look at where possibly if you're going to go into psychology, you know that you have to go for the PhD. Brace yourself for the PhD, because bachelor's in psychology and as a bachelor's in sociology, my first actual job, Harold, I don't know if you know this.
Probably
I
not.
got a bachelor's degree without even trying. I'm not bragging. I wasn't the best student. I was a 2.8 student. That's under a B. That's a C plus student.
Wow.
And I was going to work at Longstrug's Mililani, unbeknownst to my mother and father who paid for my education.
Wow.
But because I had a skill, I could speak Ilocano about 80% fluent and get away with it. I was hired with the DOE to teach kindergarten students English and Ilocano students. So I got hired by skills. And
explain to people what Ilocano is.
Oh,
we have listeners all over the country.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry. Ilocano is a Philippine dialect and in the Philippines. So Ilocano is one of the 66 dialects from the Philippine language.
66?
About 66 dialects.
Oh.
So because my mother and father were from the Philippines and my dad spoke that dialect, I was hired by the Department of Education to teach a class of about 15 students, about boys and girls who are kindergarteners, and that skill set allowed me to get a job. So in today's society, post-COVID, I see the job trends going towards working at home or being able to be skillful in nursing, the health field, in the business field with accounting and finance. And I don't know about management, but there's other areas where you can diversify to become an entrepreneur, as well as in the field of computers with software engineering and doing work from home. Like I just had a student that's going to be making some money doing some design on his software with 3D and then carving out some wood products. So sometimes now it's a change from just saying, go get a degree, you're going to get a job. That was post-Reagan days, Kennedy days. Everybody had a degree, could move up in the government, could move up here and there. But I think right now our industry is specifically driven. If you have a certain skill set in information giving, you have a skill set in engineering. Even engineering is kind of like getting a little bit more specific, and you might have to double in engineering and computers with electrical. But there's a lot of things that skills will provide opportunities for.
Yeah, I heard something the other day, a phrase that said we have to accelerate the path from learning to earning.
Right, exactly.
Because so many people are stuck in the learning phase, and they're spending so much money on the learning phase. They don't develop the skills they need to start doing the earning, and corporations are having a hard time filling jobs, even in this COVID situation of highly skilled workers. And so they're coming out with programs across the United States. I think Toyota had created a program for its skilled workers. And so now they're spreading that across the country, where it's a 21-month program and you go in and you learn all the skills. It's like a boot camp.
Right, exactly.
21 months, a year and a half or so, you're going through an intensive boot camp program, and you're working and you're earning and learning at the same time. And then I think they come out making like $100,000 a year plus or something like that. So last thing I have to ask of you is this. There's parents out there who have kids that need guidance, and there's parents out there of kids who need motivation. We can provide guidance all day, but motivation is not something like gas in the tank where you pull up to the gas station and you fill up with motivation. So if you have parents out there with students that are just not motivated, what can you say to them to help get their students pointed in the right direction?
Harold,
that's a tough question, man.
That's a tough and a loaded question, my brother.
Loaded, very loaded.
Very loaded. And Harold is right. With Bright Tree Financial, we provided guidance in positive ways, and we could hammer the word guidance to become etched in stone. And motivation is, from what I heard, is something that is not just taught, but it's caught. So first of all, I think I'm going to take a very rudimentary response to that question of how do you get motivation? And first of all is students are always watching their significant others, parents, or their basically non-fragmented, non-traditional families today. So whoever inspires them with kind words, kind body language actions, rather than always being like, you got to do this. I think significant other parents, speaking to you as well as myself, is that we got to learn how to connect. Not meaning that you have to speak the lingo they're speaking, but I'm talking about soft skills. Soft skills that are basically human connection, like listening to them, actively listening, affirming them, and speaking the truth when they're going in a wrong direction and saying, hey, I care about you, but you're barking up the wrong tree. And if they see that care and that love, the motivation comes, and because they'll reciprocate and they're going to say, Mom, Dad, or so-and-so, what do you think about this? Because we as parents have become the generals. You do this or else. You're living in my house. You're eating my food. You're driving I'm paying your car insurance.
Right.
So we have to take a different approach. And some of you may accuse me of being a softy, but hey, water is soft, but it runs down the rock. Water keeps trickling over that rock is going to erode.
Right.
And so picture your heart as that rock, and you keep giving kindness. Kindness is going to wear that rock, that stone, hard, cold rock down of a heart. And so parents, the guidance is open communication. And also doing things with them which they like to do. I mean, I'm not talking to my son about computers. It's not a first interest, but I'm asking him questions, and I'm truly getting interested. Go out. Well, this is post-COVID, but hopefully post-COVID, he can go out for a walk in the country, go diving, go ride your quads, your motorcycle, go eat a nice steak together or grilled steaks, or even with a family. I think it's not only one person, but it's being inclusive and exclusive with the family as well as with friends or people that you trust. And motivation is always, I think, a lifetime learning.
Yeah.
It's caught, and it can be taught, but it's more caught by how people perform, how people act, and how people do things with you and for you. I don't know.
You're saying the best motivating factor for kids these days is the time you spend with them, and they pick up on that. It excites them. It makes them feel good. It boosts their confidence, and then confidence will lead to motivation. And so they'll want to do more. They'll want to do better. They'll want to achieve. They'll want to strive. And so, Larry, I want to thank you today for being on the show. Kudos to you, man. Thank you very much. This was fun, everybody. I just want to say again, thank you to Larry. He's been a very big inspiration in a lot of things that I do. He's done some great work here with our families. And that's basically it for our Successful Professional series. If you guys have any questions for me or you need any follow-up, you can give me a call, 808-521-4401, or you can go to my website, retirewow.com, and just check out some of the things that we have on the site. So again, Larry, it's been great. And I want to say thank you very much. And until next time, everybody, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.